Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. There will not be peace in Ukraine. Who wants peace? The people, not the interests. And who's in charge of the people? The big interests. You don't think so? Who do you work for? Do you work for a government? Okay. And who owns the government? The people. Do you work for a private institution? Somewhere that institution most likely is linked with a big interest. It needs energy. It needs infrastructure. It needs loans. So attached to the pillars of the profiteers, the three pillars. Ukraine's foreign minister outlines the country's red lines in peace talks, including NATO membership. And these three red lines tell me, and will tell you, because I'm going to read them for you, that peace is not going to happen. Why? The root causes of the conflict are not solved, and they tell us they will not be solved. And they tell us that they advance with the discussions. No, this is just a looting operation. The West tried to loot Russia. Militarily was incapable. Politically was incapable. Financially was incapable. So what are they going to do? They're going to get what they can from Ukraine, and they will deal with Russia later. The Russian leadership is not going to be there forever. They have their moles over there. They have their people working for them. Their agents undercover in Russia, as the Russians have in America and so on. And they are working at it. So the first topic is the Ukraine's red lines tell us there's not going to be peace. There's not going to be peace. They don't see eye to eye one another in order to solve the problem. That's the first topic. The second one, the United States of America did not provide Ukraine with security guarantees, but with weapons, military help, with trainers, with all these guys, with advisors. That is everything, but we don't guarantee. That means if you lose with everything we give you, we didn't lose. You lost, but we are involved in there. It's like cucurul în două luntri. That's how you say it in Romania. With your ass in two separate boats. So if this sinks, whoop, you move to the other one. If that sinks, whoop, you move to the other one. So you are in Ukraine, but you're not in Ukraine. If you lose, you're not in Ukraine. No security guarantees. If they win, yeah, we were all along, man, we were in. Does it sound like strong to you? Does it sound like American, let's say, Greco-Roman values? Or sounds like the burning bush kind of ideology? In the darkness, when he sleeps, then Esther, what's her name? Esther? All right, that's the second topic. No security guarantees. The third one, according to CNN, Putin may change goals in the war against Ukraine. That means he changes the goals. I don't think so. But nevertheless, I will show you how these guys are trying to influence your brain with their imbecility, with their narrative. And the other one, I will tell you how the looting of the Ukrainian natural resources, the mineral deal, was done without the approval of Rada. Remember, these guys claim that they like democracy, but they like the democracy of one. An example is Trump, the other one is Macron, and this is Shmyhal / Yermak / Zelensky. They say the document of giving another country access to our resources doesn't need the approval of the parliament. We decide for all of you where your wealth goes. One elected official, Zelensky, decides for all of you, not the parliament. Not that the parliament will care. They would make the parliament vote the way they want, like they did with supporting Ukraine unanimously. The next day, after the first day, it did not pass. Remember the support for Zelensky? After Trump called Zelensky a dictator with no elections? They went to Rada and they tried to show force and support against Zelensky. The elected officials, he is legitimate. It did not pass in Rada, in the parliament. It didn't. That means, no, you're not legitimate. That was today. in the evening, and the next day in the morning, everybody unanimously said, yes, he's the legitimate ruler of Ukraine. We recognize him. These changes do not happen unless you're paid or you're threatened or you're dead and you can't show up. All right, let's start with the first topic. Ukrainska Pravda. Ukraine's foreign minister outlines country's red lines in peace talks. The red lines are, how should I put it, bumping ahead with the Russians' non-negotiable, including NATO membership. When I read it, I said, okay, that's done. Zero, no peace. Why? Russia has 4 non-negotiable demands. And they say, we're going to get in Ukraine for these reasons, including the fact that NATO is right here and you guys are killing our ethnic Russians in the East Ukraine. And the non-negotiable are no NATO in Ukraine. You understand that? That's the first one. No NATO. And this guy said, including NATO membership. That's a non-negotiable for the Russians. That's the main reason why they attacked Ukraine unprovoked, we're told. The second one is you are supposed to be neutral. So that means now with this attempt to us, you're going to belong to us. You have no military. We will decide that. Third one, denazification. The ideology, some ideology in your government with building all kind of things for people who cooperated with the bad dudes of the Second World War. That's not going to happen. The other one is the recognition of those territories that already voted through referenda to break away from you and join us. Democracy, genuine democracy. Oh, it was done with the barrel of the gun? No, it's not necessary. You just use electronic voting machines. You don't have to do, you let them vote. And you have the electronic voting machines and you are in charge of the program that makes sure the votes, the numbers come, and you send them to the main office where they're going to say, yes, Tom Jones won with 99.9% of the votes, says the electronic machines and the program that we control. All right, so it's not going to happen. Peace, they don't want peace. Why? Profits. And the Americans will work slowly to grab what they wanted to grab from Russia. Not American interest. The interests who are in charge of America or the Western world. That's more likely. All right, let's see what this big head says. Ukraine's foreign ministry, Andriy Sybiha, has stated that within the framework of peace settlement, Russia must not be granted the veto over Ukraine's NATO membership. All right, well, how about tomorrow? Let's say tomorrow, Russia has creates an alliance with Cuba. And I'm going to show you the same arguments for Cuba. Substitute the word Ukraine with Cuba. And during this agreement, Russia could deploy nuclear warheads like it deployed in Belarus, will deploy to Cuba. Do you think that the Americans will be A-okay because they are A-okay with what the Ukrainians say? Do you think the Americans will be, you have nothing to say about this. This is a voluntary decision of an independent sovereign country. That's Sybiha's argument, which I'm okay. Well, I'm spinning here. I'm okay with that in an ideal unicorn-like fairy tale world. We don't live in that world. The Americans bombed Yugoslavia for 74 days or so. They destroyed Iraq and Afghanistan on lies. They destroyed Libya on lies. They are in Syria, illegitimate troops deployed. They will attack probably Iran for those fuckers in the Middle East as well. You know who I'm talking about? So you're talking about sovereign countries. Israel just bombarded yesterday a target inside a sovereign country of Syria, in Damascus, the capital, next to the presidential office. Another country shot rockets inside missiles in another country. And you tell me that I should respect Ukraine? You tell me that, yeah, in an ideal world, yes. But how about we turn towards other areas on this planet to discuss those bullshits? All right, here. Sybiha said that. Sybiha noted that Ukraine would not accept peace at any cost and outlined the red line in peace negotiations, describing them as clear and unchanged. All right. First of all, we will not agree to recognize any temporary occupied territory of Ukraine as Russian. Okay, that means peace is gone. Shmyhal added that would not agree to any restrictions on the structure or size of its armed forces. Remember the non-negotiable? Reductions of its defense industry or limitations on military aid from allies and presence of allies troops. Okay, war goes on. Thirdly, we will not accept any restrictions on Ukraine's sovereignty, on our internal or foreign policy, including the choice of alliances and bloc we aim to join. The minister said, okay, Cuba. Remember, when the Americans are going to say you can't have that, they say, well, remember this one right here? As the Russians remind the West, when they say, well, how do you take Crimea? How do you take Donbass? How do you take this? And they say, well, do you remember Kosovo? That's the argument. And these guys cannot defend that. Remember when that imbecile Scholz showed up in Moscow and he said, this is the first war in Europe after the Second World War. You started Russia. And Putin said, Chevor Bejma, what are you talking about? How about, did you forget the war in Kosovo? In Yugoslavia, when you, well, baboons bombarded a sovereign independent country of Yugoslavia, it got in its internal affairs. If you mention the word genocide, I recommend that you see what United Nations found out about the genocide in Yugoslavia. All right? The reason why we had to intervene was reason. All right, so that's the one. All right? However, Russia or any other country does not and will not have a veto over our choice. Shmyhal acknowledged that at present there is no consensus among allies regarding Ukraine's NATO membership, but stated that Kiev will continue working to reach one. So they said, all your non-negotiable, we're back to square one. You got it? Back to square one. All right. And in the meantime, the Americans said, you know what? I got your resources, but we're not going to give you any defense guarantees. For a reason why? Where ass is on two different boats. If one sinks, if you lose, we were not in the losing side. If you win, of course we are. That's the self-attribution theory. If every time you succeed in something in your endeavor, it's because of me, man. It's because I'm tough. If you fail, it's because of the weather. It's because of you. It's because I don't know, something happened in my childhood. All right, let's go to the next one. Putin may have changed goals in war against Ukraine, says CNN. Nothing these guys say, I don't believe. I verify, and that's exactly what I want you to do with everyone, including me. Start with me. You know why I want you to start with me? Because I'm so confident I'm telling the truth that when you're going to verify and you're going to look for it, you're going to find, oh, fucking baboon told the truth again. All right? I don't lie. I don't lie here. Yes, I lied in my life, of course, and probably I will lie in the future, but I've never lied here. I did my best, to my best abilities, to my knowledge, to my boast, everything I had, to tell you how things are. Things that these guys are not telling you. So CNN tells us they changed the goal. Let's see what goals Putin supposedly changed. Do you think he changed everything I said at the beginning of this video about the 4 non-negotiable? No, but the goals are changed. No, when those guys said, we're going to go and be in NATO, and we're going to do whatever we want, and we're not going to recognize what you got, the war is not going to end. Western intelligence. You should believe in Western intelligence. Just remember, they told you that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So that's it. Data, ooh, that's information, man, indicates the Russian leader, he's not a dictator nowadays, Vladimir Putin may have changed his short-term goals in the war against Ukraine to focus on already occupied territories and economic issues. According to these guys, fresh intelligence, seen by US and Western officials indicate that Putin may have shifted his immediate focus in the war against Ukraine to short-term goals, namely tightening control over occupied territories and reviving Russia's faltering economy. CNN reports citing unnamed sources. Do you like unnamed sources? If you said yes, I will give you some information. Where do you live? Okay, I don't know anyway. I have unnamed sources told me that tomorrow the US government or your government, wherever you are, because unnamed sources, will come and get you. My unnamed sources told me. Who are the unnamed sources? Confidentiality. Respect that. I don't want to expose that person's identity. What? You want to endanger our brave men and women whistleblowers? I just warned you. And I can give you more information if you want about unnamed sources. Tomorrow is going to happen that, is going to happen that, is going to happen that. If it doesn't happen that, I'm not talking to you today. If it happens, unnamed sources. I can make up unnamed sources how many I want, and you will never know. Do you know CNN's unnamed sources? This article could be a made-up article from A to Z. Can you verify it? Zero you can. Nothing, it's just words. It's just words. Can be entirely made up. This represents an evolution from recent US and Western intelligence assessments. They use assessments, data, information, suggesting that Putin felt the state of the war was to his advantage, that he had the momentum as well as the manpower to sustain a longer fight against a faltering Ukraine and seize the entire country. Wow. 2 US sources familiar with the matter. That's another word they say. Okay. I have 2 sources familiar with the matter that contradict what CNN's sources said. What are you going to do? Sue me? Sue them first. Well, they're familiar, unnamed, and the third is anonymous. Those are the 3 words these guys are always used to write an article with no evidence. They say, or FBI or CIA when they show up and say, Gigi committed a crime. But can you prove it? We can't do it. But yeah, he committed a crime. Our investigation, outcome, the data, all these things. How? Based on what? Our investigation. We can't disclose it. We endanger our, brave women and men in the uniform who got the information that you are a criminal. So you got to go to jail because we say so. Evidence? Forget about it. Burning bush right there. You have to believe. You have to believe in us. Why? Because you never told a lie. All right, so this is a new target. However, senior EU officials remain skeptical of Putin and his repeated assertions during negotiations. But this guy tells the truth, right? And he seeks a peace deal despite an incredibly generous US proposal on Ukrainian territory, which would allow Moscow to retain most of the territory they've taken. What the hell? What did this guy say here? What did he say about the things? What about it? First of all, we will not agree to recognize any temporary occupied territories of Ukraine and Russia. So what are you talking about here? Despite any incredible generous US proposal, you can't dictate. I thought that according to this baboon in the first article, we are right here. We are we don't accept any restrictions on Ukraine's sovereignty or on our internal or foreign policy, including a choice. Yeah, but here they say that the Americans proposed your territory to be recognized. What are you talking about? And let's go to the last one. Let's get this thief right here. New voice of Ukraine. Ukraine and US to sign recovery fund documents without Rada approval. That's it. We're going to sign it without you, boys. Now, let me tell you how the Democrats like, and this is intergovernmental relations. Rada's approval is not needed. Who's going to be in charge of us? People like Shmyhal, people like Pritzker, people like Zelensky, people like, Abramovich, Rothschild. These people will be in charge. Who do you think is going to take care of your wealth? Who do you think is going to be the person? Oh, Mr. Lutzkvich, what's his name? Is the economy, the minister, secretary in US. Who are these guys? Vitkov. These guys are going to give the contracts, they're going to give the money, and they're going to buy this through you. We're going to have a few Ukrainian sounding names, being the ones I'm going to be buying this gold mine with the money coming from, let's say, Bank of New York. Just make it up, right? And then those going to give me money because they like me, like my nose or something, and they're going to give me the money. I'm going to outbid everybody else through this fund with the Ukrainian government owned by Shmyhal, Yermak, and Zelensky, and I'm going to own it. And I'm going to become a billionaire like a few guys in our tech. Like, do you think that Zuckerberg was a genius? Do you think that he got, and not only, if you look at non-intelligence, they're part of it, in the sphere of information on social media, find all kind of Zuckerbergs. Do you think they're just different or they're part of something? I don't know. I wanted to check it out. Like that Altman or whatever his name, another one with artificial intelligence and others. How come these guys are over there? You find them everywhere. You don't find any Romanian? Are we dumb or something? Well, you don't have people in the White House, do you? You don't have people in business. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This is democracy. Remember when Macron just picked up the pension reform that was supposed to be voted in the Grand Assembly in France? If yes or no, if they would increase the from 62, make it to 65, the workforce, so they will retire at 65 instead of 62. Macron said, no, you're not going to go and vote. All those guys that are voted, I'm going to take it. I'm said yes, and that's it. And it was legal. Legal. Biden sent billions of dollars to the Ukrainians. Did they ask you? He's the representative, one, that you voted for. Well, I voted for you, but you can't do everything you want in my name. I didn't give you Imperium, the power to rule in my name in everything for 5 years or 4 years or whatever your term will be. If like this, what am I going to do with you? And the answer is, he has immunity, and you have to work within a system. That means after 4 years, you vote him out. So after he screwed his country, your country, for 4 years that you cannot recover for 5 generations, all you can do is just look at his retirement on a beach in Tahiti, eating ice cream and nothing else because he can't. And he screwed your country for 4 years. And he's a millionaire all of a sudden, like most people who leave public service up there at that high level. And you say, work within a system. Doesn't that require to, if a government becomes tyrannical, is the duty of the citizens to... No, we're not there yet, you think? I think this country was there before 1954, before the, Eisenhower's famous speech. There's our forces here, military-industrial complex. That was just the first signal who's in charge. They were owned even in the First World War. Remember when Woodrow Wilson, then the president of the United States of America, showed up in Paris for the peace conference over there after the First World War? I would like you to go and freaking look at the entourage, the people he came with. It made the French president, what was his name? The old guy with the mustache with white hair. What the hell was his name? I know his name, I don't know it right now. It doesn't matter. He said, who are these people? Are these the Americans? He could pick them. They were not the Americans. The ones that, Anglo-Saxons. They were not Europeans, Eastern Europeans either. They came from East Europe, but they were not. You know what I mean? He said, who are these people? Clemenceau. That was the president. He said, who are these guys? Who are these guys? Thank you very much for being with me again today. The same right now. You got Vitkov, you got Blinken, you got these guys in charge of you, Lutnik, and you got Jesus Christ. And these guys, you got Pritzker, with the one with investments, you got Shmyhal. Don't fucking connect any dots. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.